why, as a union of metal workers, who is heavily entrenched in fossil fuel industry, how have you come to be involved with the renewables, new renewable energy, and why this is important to the Metal Workers Union?
Okay. I think the renewable energy sector is so important to the metal workers, as you have said yourself, that in many industries that metal workers work in the smelters, some work in Eskom. For example, Eskom is a company here in South Africa that uses coal to produce energy. We've got workers who work there, we've got members there, we've got members who work in the smelting companies. And those companies basically are companies that releases a lot of emissions into the sky, as you know. So we think that it was going to be a big mistake for NUMSA to say that we will rely on the bosses to decide the transition from the fossil fuel to renewable energy. And we did not stop there as the Metal Workers Union. We also said that we think the renewable energy that is about to happen in our country, as you know, that our country relies a lot on coal, which is a fossil fuel. We want to be part of the transition so that firstly we ensure that the jobs of our members aren't affected in a bad way. So if it means that our members need to be retrained in order to be able to operate under a new sector, that's what we need to facilitate as a union. But more importantly, we think that the ownership of this new sector that is about to be formed in our country must be owned and controlled by the people. And we think that we have an opportunity where these debates that normally happen, because if I may tell you, in our country recently, we're having this hot debate about nationalization of the mines and the commanding heights of the economy. And the owners of the mines, that is your Anglo-American Corporation, your Anglo-Gold Ashanti, are basically blackmailing our government and the ruling party, the African National Congress, that they will disinvest when that happens. When they have not disinvested in Botswana, when they have not disinvested in Chile, when they're still operating in Venezuela today, when the state has made some huge interventions in their companies. So we think that this is an opportunity where no one really will say, I am a conglomerate here, and therefore government, we've got no role to play on behalf of the people, and therefore communities, you've got no role to play on behalf of the people. Also, as we said that we were happy to host you here, coming from the US, busy with a project whereby you go to factories that were closed and explore and find ways of reopening those factories now using renewable energy. So we think that we learned a lot from you. And when Eskom increased the prices, because for the last 3 years Eskom has increased prices by more than 100%, many of our factories had to close down. And all of them, in their letter that they used to inform the union, they were saying they are closing down because of the high cost of electricity. Now, we do think that the renewable energy option provides us with an opportunity as a union to really relook at all those factories that were closed and see if there cannot be some renewable energy intervention that can be made, such that some of those factories can be reopened, so that some of our members can be re-employed. So really this conference was a historical and a very important conference for metal workers who are on the verge of transitioning from relying on fossil fuels in many of our industries into renewable energy.
And what does it mean to say that we want to have these socially owned, or why is it important that the capitalists not take the lead on the green energy front, on the renewables?
Okay, South Africa is a developing country, as you know, obviously. And being a developing country, we have so many people that are still not employed. I mean, the unemployment rate in this country is very high. And we think that if we are going to take this important sector, that in the future will be this sector in terms of the energy supply to the people, and say that it belongs to the private hands, we face a serious threat from our people who will not have access to this power supply, because the private owners would want to make profits. As we know that the capitalist system is a profit-driven system, we think that it will be too dangerous for us as a developing country to say that this sector must belong to private hands. Because as you know, private hands, with globalization and everything, the moment they feel that they won't be making any profit, for them it will not be hard just to abandon everything, leave everything, and say we are moving now, we're going to China, we're going to other places where we will continue to make money. So we're saying that our development as a developing country in Southern Africa and in South Africa is so important, because in fact we're basically talking about our own development of our economy. Because if we're gonna leave that, because even what we've achieved so far in this country, basically we will say that ESCOM, in as much as it was corporatized, it was still belonging to the state. If you read the history of our transition of our freedom in this country, you will notice that around 1996, our government took a decision to privatize some of the state-owned entities. And we took a massive campaign as workers in this country to oppose that. I mean, we were united in opposing that. And we think that we succeeded in stopping the wholesale privatization, although there were some changes that were made in companies like ESCOM, where it is now corporatized, it has a board. When in previously it had the what is called the Electricity Council, where the trade unions were represented, communities were represented, in people who were taking strategic decisions about the company. So even that, in terms of our resolution, we say even that corporatization of ESCOM must be reversed, so that we go back to an ESCOM that is listening to the people, that is mindful of what the people think from all sectors of the economy, that does not only serve the big business, but ESCOM that must serve our people. So we are saying that the players that must be introduced into the sector must be the players that are owned by the people. Workers must have a share and a role in that. Ordinary communities must have a share and a role in those. For example, if a company, maybe an American investor, because this is an American publication, wants to come and make an investment in renewable energy, we're saying that the community where they are coming to say this is the land that we're going to use to build farm must be given a first preference to say that we want to control. By virtue of us owning this land, we want to control what happens in this land. You may come with your technology and everything, but by virtue of us owning this land, we want to control what is going to happen. We want to be able to determine what will be the prices that you're gonna sell this, on-sell this product, this power to the people, so that as a country we may continue to develop. And also, as you know, that we are heavily reliant on a fossil fuel called coal. Our transition must be a very careful transition that begins to say it will be hard for a developing country like South Africa to stop tomorrow to use coal. But we think that as and when we continue to use coal for that limited time going forward, that must be coupled with procuring a lot of latest technology that will ensure that we purify the emissions that go into the sky, because we cannot afford really to contribute to the catastrophe that climate change may cause to all of us.
This is the background to all the move to the renewables. It has to do with global warming and climate change. Could you comment further on that?
Obviously, you cannot ignore the issue of climate change. Although some people are saying, no, this is just a hype, just like the hype on Y2K, which was. But we think that we've seen things that are beginning to say that this is real. We've seen extraordinary weather conditions taking place. I mean, it is said that in Africa, the levels of heat will go up to more than 42%. I mean, we're badly when it is 34%. So just imagine what will happen to our people when they hit the sun and the heat goes up to 40%. It will be catastrophic. We'll have people who will basically collapse. It will be hard for people to continue to produce, to work, because people must have rest periods. So it will be hard to have an 8-hour working day at 42% degrees Celsius. So we think that there are signs, clear signs that this is real, this is not a hoax, and as people we must do everything in our power to ensure that we do not find ourselves in that situation. It's unfortunate that countries like the US have not signed the Kyoto Protocol. And they are the biggest emitters on Earth. Yes. I mean, you can't say just because China has not so signed and say that we're also not going to sign. I mean, the end of Cold War happened in 1989. We're no longer in the Cold War, and therefore we think that President Obama must really consider the stance that was taken by Bush. If really he wants to prove us that he's a better person than George Bush, then he must consider the stance of the American government insofar as the issue of the Kyoto Protocol is concerned. And we think that as NUMSA, with the information that we received in the last 5 days, we are ready to engage with anyone insofar as what are the things that we can safely do in transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. As you will notice that we were visited by the Minister of Energy in one of the nights where she addressed us, where she said that she congratulated us on holding this important international conference and that she is looking forward to the outcomes of this conference, which we are surely going to take to her, to engage with her, so that the plan up to 2020, which has been published by our country, can be shifted to begin to see a bigger role for the public sector and communities in general. So we think that this was a very successful conference, and it will contribute a lot in informing our country's position insofar as climate change is concerned. And what I said in my opening input is that as NUMSA, this is not the hype that has been created by COP17 that was in Durban recently. As early as 1999, as this union, we were talking about the issues of energy. And therefore, we think that we have been helped a lot by your contributions in the 5 days that we had here.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you
very much. Thank you.